Hello, I'm Barbara Hort, and I'm the author of Hollow Crown of Fire, A Discovery of Meaning in the Coronavirus Pandemic and Its Predecessors. I'd like to read an excerpt from my book. This is the beginning of chapter 4. Since the dawn of time, pandemic disease has attacked and annihilated countless species on the earth. Humankind is the only species that has ever dared to fight back. There's something astonishing in this fact, not only because we are unique in our biological audacity, but also because we are a very vulnerable species, especially when compared to many others. Yes, we have large brains and some remarkable adaptive abilities, but we also possess a host of frailties that make us fertile ground for aspiring microbes, including the deadly microbes that we've met in this book. Not all species are as vulnerable to disease as we are. Consider, for example, that many of the deadly pathogens that have afflicted our species, including the MERS virus, Ebola, Marburg, as well as the SARS-CoV-2 virus, have come to us from bats. And all of these viruses live peacefully in the bodies of healthy bats without igniting any notable bat diseases. Scientists have concluded that this is because the immune systems of bats are much less sensitive than ours, much less prone to the cytokine storms and inflammatory cascades that we learned about in the last chapter. And this, it seems, is because bats fly, and the metabolic changes that are required to go from zero to airborne would incinerate bats if their immune systems were as sensitive as ours. So, the immune systems of bats are comparatively dull and sluggish, and that's why bats are tolerant to many viruses that become deadly when they are encountered by our hyper-reactive human immune systems. Despite our vulnerable bodies, or perhaps because of them, we humans have uniquely refused to go gentle into the not-so-good night of pandemic disease. And we have been digging our collective heels into the quicksand of pandemic survival since long before we had any factual notions about the causes for our deadly diseases. We simply fought back as best we could. Only us, pandemic and panic-stricken as we were. To get a sense of the terror that pandemic diseases have ignited in us, we need only look at the Bible's book of Revelation, which offers us one of the most compelling and enduring images of human demise, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The order of the horsemen's appearance is the following. First, pestilence is mounted on a white horse, then war riding on a red horse, then famine is on a black horse, and finally death on the infamous pale horse, which is actually a corpse green. In the view of Jungian psychology, which is what I practice, there are no random details in any symbol or myth, and thus it is no accident that the first of the apocalyptic horsemen is pestilence. This means that even the ancients considered pandemic disease to be a supremely horrifying killer. But unlike humanity's apparent acceptance of war and famine and random death as the dealers of our ends, we humans have made some really heroic efforts to combat the scourge of pestilence. No other species have ever attempted that. Which is not to say that humans have ever achieved wide consensus or resounding success when we have opposed our pandemic diseases. Indeed, our human behaviors have been historically much less successful than what we have achieved with our little microscopic allies in our immune systems. But our efforts as defenders of our bodies have been noteworthy enough to bear examination in this book. Against all odds, we macro defenders have, somewhat surprisingly, achieved enough success against our little micro invaders to merit respect, if only because we have chosen to fight. Unlike our immune systems, which have no choice, and unlike all the other species, which have never exercised whatever choices they may have had. So let's look at what kinds of war we have waged against pestilence. Thank you.